Hi, everyone, and welcome to my channel. So, today I want to talk about some of the ways that you can do a second couples therapy session. I know I've talked previously about how to do a first one, but I wanted to kind of do this as a follow up video to talk about what to do after you've done your first therapy session with a couple and now you're in the second session. So, first and foremost, one thing I think is really important to do is just really summarize what you talked about in the last session. It's a great way just to recap and see where the couple went and maybe get an idea for the plan for the session. I like to kind of let the couple decide what's going to be the topic of what we talk about, but I also want to make sure it's something relevant to why they're coming to see me. So we summarize and kind of recap what they talked about after the last session ended. And I asked them to share a high and low that they've had in between sessions. And so the purpose of kind of having them share a high and low is really that it normalizes challenges. It gives me an idea of what they find important in their lives, but it also gives them a moment to kind of take a deep breath and also encourages some self awareness and self reflection when it comes to identifying a high and a low that they each have had individually in between the session time. Also, one thing I like to do in that second session is to explore exceptions as far as asking some open ended questions around, let's say, some conflict. So, for instance, a question that I might ask would be, tell me about a time when you've had a conflict and you felt like it's been resolved. Or might ask about a time where they've had to compromise and they've worked together to find a solution that worked best for them. I also use this time to sometimes ask questions about what they've experienced when it comes to negotiation and a time that they've had to work together as a team or a hard time that they've both gone through together where they had to support each other and be there for each other in a meaningful way. So talking about some of those exceptions to maybe what the presenting challenge is about a time that where things went well or maybe went differently than what they expected. Also, another thing I like to ask about is really just getting the idea of their support system and the role that family and friends play in their lives. I'll ask a question like, what did you learn positive or negative about relationships from your parents or caregivers? I also will ask questions about the feedback that they've been receiving from their community, from their friend group. A lot of couples have couples friends, and I like to get an idea of how much their support system or their community knows about their current challenge. Have they shared everything and people are giving advice or feedback? Or have they not shared anything and no one is really aware of maybe where they are in their relationship? And if they have shared, what's been the feedback that they have received from the close friend or family member that they've confided in about their relationship? Another thing I like to do in a second session is also to identify any persistent issues. And so, what those really are some of those issues that couples have that are really specific to their personality differences and who they are as people. So, it's something that continues to come up and it's something that they see again. So, for instance, an example of a perpetual challenge or perpetual problem or even a perpetual issue would be, let's say someone has a different standard of neatness. One person is super, super neat and tidy and makes sure that everything is just so. And then someone else doesn't care as much and maybe isn't as tidy or as neat as the other person. That's something that a couple's going to see again because it's specific to their personality. Another example of that difference would be differences in parenting techniques or differences in expectations of discipline when it comes to parenting and disciplining little kids or adolescents. Another example of that would be someone who is super social and likes to go out all the time, and somebody that maybe likes staying home and really prefers to kind of introvert quietly without a whole lot of outside activities or things to do. So those are things that can come up between a couple that can really drive a wedge between them, but also cause additional conflict because each person really is trying to sway the other person over to their side. And it's something that they'll see again because it's really tied to who they are as individuals and tied to their personality differences. Another thing that I'll do in that last session is really identifying the homework for next time. So what I do is I'll talk to couples about an action step that they like to put into place between now and the next time that we talk together. So an example of the action step might be to go on a date together. It might be to cook dinner together. It might be to watch a movie together. It's something that they're doing. Another type of homework I'll sometimes give is that of kind of assigning them a discussion to have about a topic that we've covered, and then we'll talk all together as a group about what came up for them as part of that conversation. Another example of a homework I'll give would be that of journaling. Sometimes I'll talk to couples about kind of writing out their needs, wants, and wishes for the relationship. And then, we'll all talk together about what came up for them as they were writing out, their answers to that. And then also individual tasks. If there's something that, each person kind of needs to work on individually for the betterment of the relationship, that's something that I'll discuss typically around that homework time, as far as what do you want to take individual responsibility for, or what do you want to set an intention towards when it comes to just maybe being more patient with your partner or expressing your frustration to your partner in a gentler way, identifying what that looks like and what's an individual task that both partners can commit to in between session. So that's pretty much it for a second session. Thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten to this point in the video, please be sure to like and subscribe and comment below. Tell me what I missed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great one.